Hi there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Josh Mansfield, a teacher with the Demon, and with me is Nathan Fox, one of the founders of LSATdemon.com and the weekly podcast Thinking LSAT. Nate, today we've got an email from Francisco, who's got subject RC search function.
Hi guys, been using the Demon for a couple months now and have absolutely been loving it, and I've gone up 10 points since my diagnostic. I've taken a few PTs and timed RC sections now, and I've noticed that I've become slightly dependent on the search function in order to look up certain words or phrases in the passage. Is this allowed in the actual test? I plan on taking it in person at a testing center, and I want to prepare for it in case it isn't allowed. If so, would you say it's a good tactic? Thanks, and I hope to hear from you soon.
Is it allowed, Nate? I don't know. I assume it is, because isn't our drilling features built to mirror the actual test?
Yes, the features in drilling are like the actual test to the extent we're allowed to do that.
Right.
Uh, and
that should preview what our answer is going to be then.
there's no control F anymore. They have disabled all keyboard commands. So you're not going to be able to just do command F or control F. And that's probably what Francisco's been doing. So you're not allowed to do that. Instead, there's a little box up at the top of the screen, and you can type into that box and hit enter, and then it'll do the search for you. So that is on the test, but it's fraught in a lot of different ways.
Yes. I have had students who will do this, and I've watched them do it in front of me. And typically the ones I see it most often on are just plain vanilla. The author would agree with what? And they give 5 facts that are somewhat detailed, that were one of them was in the passage somewhere. And what'll happen is students they'll read A and they'll say, no, that wasn't it. And they'll read B and they'll say that wasn't it. And they'll get to C and they'll say, the Roman plumbing systems were the most advanced.
Okay.
And then they'll go search Roman plumbing, because they'll go, I remember that, but I don't remember exactly all the details, and I'm not sure. But then they'll go to D and E and they'll say, oh, well, that wasn't in there. And so they're going and searching to try and confirm this understanding. But I've seen students who will see words. They'll say, I think there was something about that. They'll look it up. They'll find that it hit, and then they'll pick that answer choice because it was present. They won't read it. They're taking it out of context.
Just the topic. They're just matching a word.
Yes. Yeah.
That's falling into the trap of thinking that one word is going to make an answer right, when it's far more common that one word is going to make an answer wrong. So it's, it said that word, like that topic was mentioned, but not mentioned in the way it's being described in this answer. So you got to, when you're picking an answer, you're vouching for every word in that answer. And any one of those words might make it wrong. So the fact that your control F matched up and they did mention that doesn't mean that they mentioned it in the way that's being described. I wanted to talk about another potential problem with this, is that synonyms exist.
Yep.
So if you're like, oh, wow, yeah, did they mention, vehicles? And then you just control F looking for vehicles. Well, okay, they might not have mentioned vehicles, but they mentioned automobiles, they mentioned motorcycles, they mentioned buses, trains. They, there's and this happens in lots of different ways. There's just so many words that could mean the exact same thing. And so that control F can really waste a lot of time.
The other thing that I think is happening then is that even if you don't know exactly what was said about vehicles, right? So the question, it says something about vehicles, and it's very detailed, and you're like, man, I remember something about vehicles, but I don't remember what exactly. You should have understood the passage well enough that you could have said, oh, vehicles was the example used to disprove the critics in the 3rd paragraph.
Right.
I'm going to go double check that real quick. But if you're relying on a control search, just a search function, you didn't understand what that was being used for in the first place. And that means, I think, that Francisco's not reading it as well as they should be either.
Yeah. I only have to refer back to the passage for maybe 2 or 3 questions per passage. Maybe not even that. I think you should be predicting the answer without looking back at the passage for half the questions or more. And so, yeah, I think there's lots of reasons not to like the search function. I think it's time consuming. It can lead you astray. It can waste a ton of time if that's like a synonym that, you're not even searching for the right exact character string. I would just encourage people to take a little bit longer reading the passage, right? And especially the first paragraph and especially the first sentence. Just make sure that you're actually like chewing and swallowing before you stuff more in your face. And then you'll realize at the end, like, oh, yeah, it's going down a lot quicker near the end of the passage because I've been primed by understanding what I read at the top. Now, the bottom of it, I'm kind of predicting what they're going to say next, and it's just not that hard for me to follow it. At the end of the passage, take a moment to reflect and just go, yeah, okay, so basically what they wanted was XYZ. Then start answering the questions. And again, after you read each question, just pause. Don't go straight into the answer choices. Instead, pause and think about it. Well, what did the author say about this issue? Don't start immediately reading A and get confused by wrong answer choices. Instead, think about it and try to predict based on your comprehension of the passage. You'll find that these questions are a lot easier than you think. And yeah, I never ever use the search function. Josh never uses the search function. It's just not something that we teach at LSAT Demon.
I literally could not have told you at the top that this was on the official, like,
Didn't even know it
software.
existed.
Didn't know.
Yeah.
I knew it was on ours. I assumed it was probably on the real one, but I didn't use it, so I just didn't know.
Yeah. We assume that, I mean, we feel the same way, by the way, about highlighting and about note taking.
Diagramming in LR.
Diagramming in LR. Yeah, lots of reasons to not do these things, even if you're allowed to do them on the test. It's really simpler than that. You need to actually understand what you're reading.
Mm-hmm.
And all these things don't help you really understand. They're just gimmicky.
Yeah. And the test takers know if you're going to use them, right? They anticipate you using them, and they will intentionally write questions to take advantage of that.
The test makers, yeah. They will. No, I mean, they like
the synonyms point.
They use synonyms on purpose because it's a test of your facility with the English language, because that's what law school is and that's what legal practice is. Okay. Thank you, Francisco, for writing in. Please email daily@lsatdemon.com if you would like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.